When people across Africa talk about countries they admire, one name appears again and again: Kenya. From the busy streets of Lagos to the universities of Uganda, from South African travelers to Tanzanian traders, from Ethiopian entrepreneurs to Congolese students, Kenya somehow holds a unique place in the hearts of many Africans. But why? What makes Kenya so admired across the continent? Is it the world-famous wildlife, the dominance in athletics, its powerful diplomacy, the rise of Nairobi as Africa's innovation capital? Or is there something deeper, something that makes people from many nations feel strangely connected to Kenya? Because despite political struggles, economic inequality, and fierce competition from other African giants like Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, and Ethiopia, Kenya has built a reputation that many countries admire. Today, we explore why Kenya is often seen as one of the most liked countries in Africa. And trust us, the answer is much bigger than safaris. This is the story of Kenya. For many Africans, Kenya represents something familiar, but also aspirational. It feels proudly African while also feeling modern. And first impressions matter. For millions of people visiting East Africa, Kenya often becomes their introduction to the region. The modern skyline of Nairobi, the organized airports, the blend of languages, the fast-growing tech scene, the feeling of movement. Kenya gives many visitors a sense of possibility. Unlike countries known only for one thing, Kenya feels multidimensional. You can see wildlife in the morning, attend a tech conference in the afternoon, and enjoy nightlife in Nairobi before midnight. That balance of nature, ambition, and culture gives Kenya a special identity, and for many Africans it creates respect, because Kenya feels like a country that is constantly trying to move forward. If Kenya has a beating heart, it is Nairobi. Often called the gateway to East Africa, Nairobi has become one of Africa's most influential cities. Why? Because people from everywhere come here. Ugandans, Tanzanians, Rwandans, South Sudanese, Ethiopians, Nigerians, Congolese, Somalis, South Africans, and even thousands from outside Africa, for business, for education, for healthcare, for opportunity. Nairobi has something rare. It feels regional. Many Africans don't see Nairobi as just Kenya's city. They see it as East Africa's city. Major organizations operate there. International conferences happen there. Diplomatic meetings happen there. Big startups are born there. And when people interact positively with Kenya through Nairobi, admiration grows, because cities shape reputations, and Nairobi has become one of Africa's most recognizable capitals. Language connects people, and Kenya has one of Africa's strongest cultural bridges, Swahili. Few languages unite Africans across borders like Swahili does, from Tanzania to Uganda, from parts of Congo to Rwanda, and increasingly across Africa through music and media. Swahili creates connection. Kenya played a huge role in helping spread modern Swahili culture. Kenyan television, Kenyan radio, Kenyan music, Kenyan media personalities. And today, millions outside Kenya recognize Swahili phrases. Hakuna Matata, Karibu, Asante. Even people who have never visited Kenya often feel familiar with the country because of the language, and familiarity creates affection. A country becomes easier to like when its culture feels accessible. Ask many visitors what surprised them most about Kenya, and many will mention one thing: the people. Kenyan hospitality has built a strong reputation. Tourists often speak of warmth. African visitors often speak of friendliness. Students often speak of welcoming communities. Of course, no country is perfect, but Kenya developed a reputation for openness, especially in Nairobi and major urban areas. Many Africans who relocate to Kenya often say something similar: they feel accepted. And in a continent where xenophobia sometimes appears in different regions, that matters. People remember where they felt welcomed, and they remember where opportunity felt possible. Then there is athletics. This is where admiration turns into legend. For decades, Kenya has dominated long-distance running, Olympics, World Championships, marathons, middle-distance races, Kenyan athletes became symbols of discipline, hard work, excellence, and national pride. When a Kenyan runner wins, many Africans celebrate because it feels like Africa winning. From Eliud Kipchoge to David Rudisha and Faith Kipyegon, Kenya produced icons respected around the world, and sports create soft power. People admire countries that inspire greatness. Kenya became that country in athletics, a nation of champions. For many people outside Africa, Kenya is one of the first countries they imagine. Lions, elephants, the Great Migration, the Masai Mara, Mount Kenya, white beaches in Diani, luxury safari lodges, colorful cultures. For years, Kenya became one of Africa's biggest tourism brands, and Africans noticed. Many people across the continent admire countries that successfully market African beauty to the world. Kenya helped shape the global image of African tourism, and that created prestige. Because when the world sees Kenya, many Africans feel represented. But Kenya is not only about wildlife, and this surprises many people. In fact, Kenya became one of Africa's biggest innovation centers. Welcome to the Silicon Savannah. Mobile banking changed everything. M-Pesa transformed digital payments. Before many countries embraced mobile money, Kenya was already leading. For entrepreneurs across Africa, Kenya became proof that African innovation could solve African problems. Tech hubs emerged. Young founders built startups, investors arrived. And suddenly Nairobi was no longer just a safari stop. It became a business destination, a dream city for young Africans, especially for entrepreneurs. Respect followed. Kenya also built something harder to measure: trust. Throughout regional conflicts, Kenya often played mediator, peace talks, regional diplomacy, humanitarian efforts. Kenya became a country many neighbors trusted for dialogue. When countries face crisis, where meetings happen matters, and many happened in Nairobi. That created an image of stability, not perfect stability, but enough trust that Kenya became an important diplomatic player. Countries often admire nations that solve problems, and Kenya repeatedly positioned itself as a regional problem solver. Kenya also became an educational destination. Students from neighboring countries travel to Kenya, universities attract regional talent, business schools grow, professional networks expand. For many East Africans, Kenya feels like a place where dreams become possible, not guaranteed, but possible. And that feeling matters. Countries become admired when people associate them with opportunity. Kenya built that image. Then comes culture, Kenyan music, Genjitone, Afrofusion, gospel, hip-hop, television, and online creators, Kenyan influencers, comedy, fashion, lifestyle content. Across Africa's digital generation, Kenya feels visible, and visibility matters. Because people often like countries they feel connected to online, Kenya feels familiar, modern, relatable, African. That combination works. Uganda often sees Kenya as a business giant. Tanzania shares deep cultural and Swahili ties. Rwanda admires trade and connectivity. South Sudan relies heavily on Kenyan education and services. Somalis often view Nairobi as a second business home. Congolese traders value Kenya's market connections. West Africans often admire Kenya's global reputation. Southern Africans often respect Kenya's diplomacy and tourism success. No country is loved by everyone. That is impossible. But Kenya built something powerful: regional respect, and in many cases, genuine affection. Now here comes the difficult question. Is Kenya truly the most liked country in Africa? The honest answer? That depends on who you ask. Nigeria has enormous cultural influence. South Africa has major economic power. Ghana is loved for hospitality. Rwanda earns praise for organization. Botswana for governance. Tanzania for peace. No country wins everyone's approval. But Kenya consistently appears near the top of conversations about admired African countries. And perhaps the reason is simple. Kenya feels balanced, traditional but modern, ambitious but connected to culture, regional but global, competitive but welcoming, and in a continent filled with incredible nations, Kenya somehow found a way to stand out, not because it is perfect, but because it feels possible, a place where Africa's future already seems to be happening. But now we want to hear from you. Do you think Kenya is one of Africa's most liked countries, or is another nation more admired? Tell us in the comments. And if you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more stories about Africa, culture, politics, travel, and untold history. Until next time, stay curious.